This is Off the Break Podcast, presented by Silver Screen Insider.
And we're back to Off the Break Podcast, your podcast dedicated to current movie theater news, operations, and insights from the people that book the movies. I'm Cody, and with me are Kyle and Ken.
Hey, look at this. We're back.
Guys, we're back.
We're out of quarantizzle.
Yeah, so we couldn't do a podcast last week because both Ken and I were on mandatory quarantine because our children had COVID cases in their classes. So the kids were home and we were home.
So home
all the time.
I don't quite have an excuse. I guess the podcast could have been just me, but
Yeah.
I feel like people would have turned that off really quick.
Well, we're like, let's give Kyle a week off.
Works for me either way.
So we're back. Only one child is in quarantine, so he's somewhere here in the office right now.
He's not in quarantine.
Yeah. Well, he is until after Thanksgiving now.
Yep.
They had another case in his class. It's not him. He got a test. He's negative. We are good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. I made sure to...
Kyle's been giving him handshakes all day.
Yeah.
Now he's a little nervous.
He's been coughing in my face all day. You mean to tell me you almost got COVID?
He's
What?
in quarantine?
It feels like coughing because he doesn't have front teeth, so he's just breathing
It's
on
just
you.
a giant hole.
Yeah, it's just a giant hole in his mouth now. His hillbilly teeth.
It was adorable.
It is
Bragged
really
about it quite a bit.
At 6 years old or 7 years old, it's really cute. When you're like 37, it's not as cute anymore.
You've been there. You've done that.
Yeah.
It's worn out its welcome, missing teeth at a certain point.
I don't have any missing teeth, by the way, if anybody was taking
If
that
anyone
from the
cares.
conversation. Yeah.
Doesn't take after the mom.
Just missing one of the front ones, but that's
Stop
fine.
it. I have a beautiful smile. All my teeth are intact. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. There was some news last week that we need to get to, and of course, a lot of changes happened this week. So I think we should dive right into the release schedule changes, and then we'll go over the big news this week. So, the film Comeback Trail, which we screened here in the office, just got taken off the release schedule. We're
Bummer.
really sad because that was really funny. People were laughing out loud here in the office. That actually ended up being pretty good. So whenever it comes back, I look forward to that, and I'm hoping that it comes back for theaters.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there's no new release date for it yet. I feared that they would really push for a theatrical release.
I'm hoping they're not going to sell it to streaming.
Yeah.
It could be a streaming sale, but it's an LA movie. You can't play it without LA, and if you don't know when LA is coming back,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
LA is going to be where we've had discussions where LA and New York are 50% of some people's box office estimates. I think it's probably closer to 70% for this movie.
Really?
It could be
Maybe.
just because of the whole Hollywood tie-in.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those movies.
He's a shady producer in this movie.
It's like La La Land.
Everybody's like, I know a guy like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a funnier La La Land. Is that what you're going to say?
It's similar to that, or these movies that play well on the coast that aren't made for middle America.
Yeah, the demographic is Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had quite a few changes to next year's slate. Marry Me moved from February 12th to May 14th of 2021. Spirit Untamed moved from May 14th to June 14th, 2021. Micronauts was completely removed from the schedule next year. Without Remorse was also completely removed from the schedule. No new dates.
Come on.
United States versus Billie Holiday is now moved from February 12th, 2021 to February 26th. Monster Hunter moved up, yay, from December 30th, a Wednesday opening, to Christmas Day, which is a Friday this year, which makes it just so much easier to do box office reports.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And it's Sony. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, that could change. It is Sony, but that
Perfect Christmas
that
movie.
makes it easier.
To
I
escape
would
the
be
family.
happy.
We call that counter programming.
I would be really happy actually if it moved up a week before Wonder Woman, so you got a little bit of momentum. So if it went to the 18th, even better, Sony.
don't they?
Similar to Jumanji last year, where it came out a week before.
Right. And then held through.
Yeah.
I think they hadn't really had it in their plan when they didn't think Wonder Woman was going. There was talks they were going to move it up to the 25th. So I think that had been their plan all along.
Yeah.
Was seeing that there was a hole there. And then when Warner's announced Wonder Woman now is going on the 25th, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I think that
Breaking news.
Thank you, Ken.
Way to slip that in there, Cody. By the way, the biggest movie of the year is...
Someone just spat out their coffee going, what?
We'll talk about it in a second.
I need
So
one
it
of
could
those air
change.
horn buttons.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, don't you not get sound effects for the podcast? Do not do that.
Yeah, the fart button.
So yeah, Monster Hunter moved up. We'll see if Sony moves it. I like to see them move it up a week to the 18th.
The one time that we'd be like, yes, go right ahead and move something again.
Yeah, please. And then Fatherhood moved from April 2nd, 2021 to April 16th. Peter Rabbit 2 moved from January 15th to April 2nd, which closer to Easter makes a lot more sense. It's just
That would have been a
Sony.
nice
But
title
that's-
to have in January.
Yeah.
That Fatherhood and Peter Rabbit are both Sony titles, so one of those is going to move off those dates.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a release 2 weeks
Well,
away
I
from
think
each
that's
other.
why they moved Fatherhood back, and they have been known to release something 2 weeks into their next film. So
It's a tight squeeze, though,
It
right
is
now.
tight.
This 2021, with all the product that we have, is going to be stacked up, and you would think you're already competing against everybody else. You
Yeah.
don't want to compete against yourself for grosses.
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts 3, which was in November of 2021, has moved to July 2022. And that makes sense because they have to get a reshoot that Grindelwald character now, because Johnny Depp is no longer going to be Grindelwald.
Yeah, I don't know how much they need to reshoot, but even still, that's a pretty short amount of time to film
but they
that
have to
type of
cast
movie.
somebody, and yeah.
I've got to hire his lawyer, though. So he had a pay-for-play contract. So if any scenes were shot, that he got 100% of his deal, and they shot one scene.
Yeah.
So he got paid 8 figures for his one scene of a movie.
That's a nifty little deal that he made. That's genius. No wonder he had to turn down the role. No wonder he decided to step away.
Oh.
Easily stepped away.
I'm
He
being
was
the
like,
better
"Oh
person
no,
here.
I have to leave. Oh, guys, okay." And then you hear in the distance the dump truck, boop, boop, just
You hear all the wine bottles clinking in the dump truck.
Yeah. And then the final big news, Wonder Woman 1984
Wait.
is it's going Christmas Day. Now, it's day and date with HBO Max. So I know a lot of initial reactions to this from theater owners were dismayed, to say the least. They were not positive, but I think people need to take a deep breath, and this is really good news. This is great. We are getting an A title finally. Not that Tenet wasn't an A title, but this is like A++, big title at Christmas time, which we really need a lucrative corridor. And yes, it's day and date with HBO Max. That is kind of our new model, and we've got to learn to adapt to it. I'm not as worried about HBO Max as I would have been about, say, Disney Plus
Or Netflix.
Or Netflix. Netflix has something like 150 million users. Disney Plus has like something like 70 million users, 75.
70, 80.
Yeah. And HBO Max only has like less than 10. So
less than 10.
10 million users.
I thought it'd be over 20 at least.
No, I think it's like less than 10.
They
Wow.
came
I think
into
it's
the
like
mar-
8.
They came into the market late.
They came in,
Yeah.
they didn't,
Yeah.
they flubbed it a little bit. They didn't have content. So this is big for them to start growing that user base. And I might be wrong. I have to do my research again, and Kyle can look this up while we're talking. But even if they had 20, that's nowhere near what Disney has with Disney Plus. And I just think that that it's not going to hurt theaters as much. That this streaming platform isn't as big, isn't a huge beast, and isn't going to siphon dollars away from the theater. I think there is still some confusion with the marketing by calling it HBO Max. They've used the HBO branding, which everybody knew for like 20 years was a cable TV channel. So I don't know if you got people rushing out to be like, oh, that's a streaming platform, I get it for free. There's still a price component. You still have to sign up for that service. There's a little bit of hurdles with it with streaming. Whereas, at the theater, you just go, you have your experience. And I think in conjunction with this, you play up the safety of the theater.
The numbers since October real quick, is 38 million subscribers.
38.
But even still, that's lower than they would like.
Since October?
Of this year, yeah.
Okay, 38. Well, that's still way less than...
Yeah, it's substantially less, but it's way more than the number you gave us.
Yes, it was. Sorry.
It changes the narrative.
I saw the 8. Maybe I just missed the 3.
It changes the narrative a little, but it's not
30,
Disney Plus.
38 million subscribers.
It's 10%
Yeah.
of American homes versus Netflix, which is 50%.
They'd
Right.
want the 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, how many
it's-
streaming platforms are going to get to that 50%?
No, not many. And
Not
it's-
many.
But it's the most viable film that we can do this with.
Right.
Like, this is similar. If we got a Disney animated day and date, this would be a similar process.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not playing this because you're taking the moral high ground, we understand that. We understand that you're frustrated with the way things are. But this is the movie that's going to gross for you.
Right. Would we have liked a window? Absolutely. Would I have
100%.
liked at least 21 days like what we're getting with Universal? Absolutely. No window kind of sucks. But what's interesting is that it's only going to be on HBO Max for something like 30 days. And then it's going to have a short exclusive theatrical run and then go into streaming and stuff. So
Okay.
if you're still playing it after the 30 days, which most large places are still, megaplexes are still going to be playing it. Yeah, you might have an exclusive corridor down into January and February before the other product starts kicking in. I really don't see the release schedule getting crazy till March. So anything in January and February that tides you over is going to be great. And I can say that people had Tenet on screen and we played it in some places 8 or more weeks and it held up each and every week. It didn't drop off crazy. It held in there for a matinee.
In terms of pandemic situation? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear about that.
In terms of the pandemic, Tenet held in there for a few showtimes every single week. There was some good showtimes and it sold people and it got people in there consistently. If Wonder Woman could do the same thing through January and February and we get that little teeny boost where we get an exclusive after 30 days, that'd be awesome.
There's not going to be sleepers like we've had before in January, February.
No.
Where we had a movie that starts to get an Oscar run, like Parasite last year, where we're seeing
Right.
big grosses. Or mainstream movies that we had the last 2 years that surprised us, like Bad Boys for Life came
Yeah.
and did a huge number. And then the year before that was Glass.
Or Sonic.
Glass that did a big number in Sonic
Yeah,
too.
Sonic did a
There's
great
always
number
these surprises,
in
but
February.
we're not going to have that this year. There's nothing out there that's going to surprise us with its gross.
I don't think so. And this is all very circumstantial because we don't know what the COVID's going to be like in January and February. And we don't know if there's going to be restrictions and closures. And we're seeing that come back now into the market. A lot of places, big markets, are shutting back down again. A lot of state mandated closures. I mean, we lost a half dozen states this week to closures. So it's not the most ideal situation to put a film out, especially when you're looking at 30 days out and you're looking at marketing dollars spent. So it makes all this sense that Warner Brothers would go this route with HBO Max. But I just am so thankful that we have something worth promoting at Christmas time, worth being open for, and that will actually get people in. That you might actually play on 2 screens. That would be awesome.
Crazy to think of. But we're here for Wonder Woman 84. We're here for News of the World. We're here for Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
as crazy
now we have
as it
3
sounds.
films. Look at,
which is a normal Christmas with 3 blockbuster openings within the 7-day, 10-day window around Christmas.
I can't think of another time during this whole COVID that we've actually had 3 legit wide release openings on
3 weeks in a row, maybe, where we had Unhinged, Tenet, and then David Copperfield or New Mutants. Were those 3?
Yeah, we're kind of there, but
they were
this
3 weeks apart. This is all at once. So you have 3 different demographics coming into your theater.
Nope, this is going to be the closest we've had since COVID started to what would be a normal weekend.
March 13th, can you believe it?
Yeah, at Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're still not out of the woods by any means, but at least this was make or break for some people, and I just want them to know that this is going to work out better than
Yeah, and it shows that, I mean, right now we may not think that studios are on our side, but it shows that there are studios like a Warner Bros. That want these movies in theaters.
Well, and understand that there is value in the theatrical model
Yes.
still.
And the people that we work with on the sales side are working for their jobs at this point.
Yeah.
They have to fight to get these movies into theaters. So they have an actual task to perform to justify what they're doing. And we have to support that by getting these on screen, following the CinemaSafe program, getting as many people in as we can. You're not going to see, $100 million opening for Wonder Woman like we're used to. We're not going to see those kind of numbers. But
20 million would be outstanding. 20 million would be above and beyond what anything is done.
20 million from Wonder Woman, 15 from News of the World, 10 from Monster Hunter. That would be the biggest weekend we've had since February.
That'd
All
be
year.
So huge. I don't think that's going to happen. There's going to be some cannibalization, but if we could get 20 million out of Wonder Woman and then even 10 out of News of the World and 5 or 6, out of Monster Hunter, that still again is double the amount that we've seen any other weekend so far.
Yeah,
in terms of pandemic.
Yeah, if you had to pick 3 people though to like save us from a pandemic type situation, a Wonder Woman, Tom Hanks, and then Mila Jovovich who fights all those zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can't do too much better than that.
No.
Like it's not the perfect match, but it's pretty damn good.
That's 3 in a row
Yeah.
right there. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean we would take 3 of the Avengers over these 3 movies, but
But you know what? We have to resort to Wonder Woman, so that's still not too bad.
take Tom Hanks any day.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be good. But we were also discussing how, Warner's is going to do what they can marketing wise for this and make it as successful, but they're going to also be marketing HBO Max. Like they're going to be kind of split on their marketing on this. So you as a theater owner are going to have to really step up and really market the safe cinema protocols.
Other way around.
Sorry, CinemaSafe protocols. Thank you.
But Save Your Cinema too. Like we should promote that as well.
Save Your Cinema, the CinemaSafe program.
There'll be links available when we post this episode as well.
But CinemaSafe, get those protocols, masks, do all that. Get people feeling safe in the theater. Now is the time, because this is when you're going to have probably the most people interested in coming to the theater. All of a sudden, they're going to have a movie that they're going to be like, oh, I wonder if the movie theater's even open for this. And so this is your opportunity to put your best foot forward for what hopefully will be a surge of new customers coming back to the theater. And we want the best protocols so they keep coming back. So
we're talking, having your online ticketing ready, telling everyone that the protocols are in place, getting banners up, hand sanitizing stations, all the stuff that you think you need to do, double it.
Right.
To make sure that anybody walking in knows there's no reason to fear a virus when they're going into the theater.
No, and really promote these protocols online. Get your messaging out. You want the people that are coming to know ahead of time that, what are some of the expectations of coming to the theater now that there's finally a movie they want to see. Do I have to wear a mask? Yes, that is something that you should probably have everybody be doing, regardless of how you feel about it politically. You want to make sure that no cases get linked back to your theater and there's no reason to shut you back down again. So
Still 0. Just saying.
Just still 0.
Still 0 people. Knock it on wood.
Yeah.
I trust them.
Thanks for that, Kyle.
I trust them.
And what's great is that NATO does provide some of the marketing for this. You don't have to come up with materials. There are a lot of downloadable materials, and we'll put the links up on silverscreeninsider.com so that you guys can find all the banners and posters and things.
And they've got DCP trailers you can put right up on screen.
They even made a lot of little marketing trailers for not just on the screen, I think for social media as well, little videos. So get into that, start using it, start preparing now for this. I think it's going to finally happen, people.
We've been preparing for this all year, people. It's
I
go
know.
time.
It's go time.
I remember this feeling when Unhinged was finally getting booked and
yeah.
confirmed and drives
And
were
Tenet.
arriving.
Russell
Yeah.
Crowe,
Then we had-
save us.
Then we had Tenet coming up. It was so exciting. And then the air came out of the balloon like 2 weeks later.
Well, we had a lot of closures. It was just,
But-
it was rough.
But I hate to see the closures, but it feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Could be.
It could be. It could also be a train coming right for
Now
us.
it's my turn to knock on wood there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, Wonder Woman. That's very exciting. We have marketing materials, right? Besides just this CinemaSafe protocols, we have one sheets and graphics and all that.
For Wonder Woman, absolutely. And I'm sure they're going to keep giving us more because of all this new HBO marketing.
Now that they've decided that to go and that it's set, I anticipate we'll get more marketing materials. And then Warner's is using a different marketing fulfillment, correct, Ken? Is that iMoxie? Is that?
Yeah, they have been. I'm not sure about Wonder Woman because people are looking for ways to save money right now.
Yeah.
But there are iMoxie and fulfillments by Vision
Media Management.
Vision Media, thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's also a new company called Paper Airplane that is handling a lot of stuff for Universal and a few other film companies. So there's going to be changes there too, just like we saw with the cannibalization of Cinevision by Deluxe.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time to search for stuff, but get it as soon as you can.
Start requesting now because I'm sure everything's first come first serve and it'll be gone because it'll have all new dates and stuff on it.
Paper
dates, and I'm sure the posters will have something about HBO Max. But
Yeah.
if you happen to block that out before you put it up on your signage, I don't think anybody would mind.
No.
Paper Airplane, real quick, also has assets for Save Our Cinema, and they don't have much yet, but I think it's enough to get started, and I'm sure they're going to keep putting more of that stuff on there too. So keep an eye out.
Nice. All right. What is some other big news that I think last week came out on the Cinemark deal, or was that this week? 2 weeks of blurred together being stuck at home with my children.
Cinemark was this
What
week,
day
I
is
believe.
it? Oh, I only know it's Friday because we came in for a podcast.
Yeah, Cinemark decided to stand up and step up to the big boy table and then sit back down at the
They
kids'
crumbled
table.
under the pressure.
No, I mean they added they agreed to the 17-day theatrical window for PVOD with Universal.
But was slight change.
With a slight change, which I feel like it was a positive thing to start putting these stipulations in to increase the amount of time in theaters. But why don't you explain it a little bit better?
So their stipulation was that if a film on its opening weekend generated $50 million or more, then it stays in the theaters for 31 days or 5 full weekends before. And there's nothing to say it couldn't stay longer if it was still generating, but that was the breaking point that tacked on a couple extra weekends to a theatrical exclusive run. But my reaction when I first read this was, 50 million's too high. Like that to me was not the right number, that a more fair number would have been $30 million, because how many $50 million openings do we really get in a year? And
how many do we get?
Well, I'll get into that. but the point I was trying to make was I don't know if now giving COVID and the pressure and the competition with streaming, if we're going to continue to have as many $50 million openings, that maybe a big opening in the future, and what as a theater circuit I would have hedged my bets on, is the $30 million opening is probably going to be the new big normal. But I digress. We'll get into the numbers on this. So in 2018, we had, if we go by this model and we extrapolate it to all the film companies, so if all the film companies signed on and this became industry standard, this $50 million mark, there were only 17 films in 2018 that opened to over $50 million or more. And so they would have only had a 30-day theatrical run. If we went to the $30 million mark, which is where I kind of think we should be, we get 26 weekends out of the year. So out of 52 weekends, 26 weekends would have been the 30-day weekends, which is half the year.
Which is a full year with the 2 extra weeks.
Right.
So if you consider those each as a 2-week additional booking, then that fills a year of the schedule.
It fills a year, yeah. So we're just looking at 52 weekends. if we go by the $50 million mark, only 17 weekends qualify for the extended 30 days. Otherwise, they would be 21 days in VOD. If we go by a $30 million, which I feel is just so much like more equitable and fair for theaters, we would have gotten 26 weekends, which would have been half the weekends in the year. You would have gotten a 30-day exclusive window. And then if we want to be really interested, if we went to 25 million, we would have had an additional 4 more weekends. So we would have had a total of 30 weekends by going to 25 million. So most big movies open over $20 million. So, getting any much lower doesn't really help the studio out that much. But I feel like 30 was the number. And if we look at 2019, it's kind of very similar. There were 16 weekends in 2019 that grossed opening over 50. If we went to 30, there were 26 weekends. So same number. So my take on it is, they could only negotiate with Universal, and Universal only has a portion of these films opening, and it's definitely their big titles like Fast and Furious and stuff will apply to the 30-day window. But if this becomes more industry standard, since they were the first ones out of the gate with this, I would have really liked to have seen a $30 million break point and not 50, because I just don't know in the future how many $50 million openings we're really going to have. And is that 50 now really 30? And does that, would have that have hedged this theater circuit's bets a little bit better?
Yeah, that 50 number might sound great between the studio and maybe even Cinemark, seeing the trend these past few years, but it's like you were saying, it's probably going to change after all this pandemic stuff and COVID stuff is over with, because we've been seeing that the theater industry is changing. We've been seeing how release types have been changing, and even we been having to prepare for that on our website for those types of changes, because that just might end up being the new normal. So I do feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of the 30 million opening grosses instead of a more typical 50 million opening.
Well, it's just hard to negotiate off pre-COVID numbers because COVID changed everything, and the studios took advantage of that.
Yeah.
But then to come to the negotiating table and say, well, in our pre-COVID numbers, this is how many movies actually where we made the money. Well, that may not happen post-COVID. So
right.
I feel like it's a little disingenuous. And what really upset me about the Cinemark deal is they're not treating this like it's just a short-term pandemic deal. This, I think, was a 3 to 5 year deal. So
I'm sure it is.
Cinemark's locked in this deal in the next few years. In the next few years when we have a lot of products. So on the one hand, am I thinking, does Cinemark assume that things are going to go back to more normal and that we're going to have more $50 million openings in the next 3 to 5 years because they locked in at this deal?
Universal could have said that, and they could have thought that.
It's all speculation, but...
Yeah, it's speculation, but I think if it's your business, you have to put your eggs in the basket that things are going to return to normal. Because you can't create a vaccine, you can't change public perception about the virus out, but you can, however, bet on your business. And
but you gotta, I guess I'm just less risk averse, and I would be more conservative, and I would have liked to have seen a more conservative number as the break point. I would like to have seen 30, even 35 maybe, but
I think you're right. They're kind of thinking more of in the now than in the future.
Well, I think they had to go off of the past.
Yeah.
And we all know that we can't use 18 and 19 projections for 21. We
couldn't use 18 and 19 projections for 20 because we knew it was going to be a down year.
Yeah.
We knew without Avengers, without Harry Potter, without these things ready to go, there was going to be a blip in the schedule. Mm-hmm. No Disney sequels, no Star Wars. We knew there was going to be a huge blip this year. Not as big as it ended up being.
Because we thought, we had a James Bond, and we had a few of these other. We had a Fast and Furious.
But we had the biggest movie of all time last year.
In Endgame.
Yeah.
In 2019. So we had that,
Right.
and then everything else. So we knew there was going to be a dip this year with the national gross. We knew that was going to happen no matter what. No matter what came out, just because it was what it was. It was like a 20 film build up
Right.
to a single movie, which rarely happens. So it was we knew it was going to be down, but it's just crazy situation. It's good that they're actually negotiating some of this, though. It's not just a flat 17 days.
Right.
Like that, at least I was
It's way
glad to
better
see-
than the
I was
AMC
glad
deal.
to see there
For
were
sure.
stipulations
Yeah.
with it.
So at least they bent to Universal's will, but they weren't stupid about it.
Well, as
Cody's
stupid. I still think they were, but you know, it's
Cody
just,
going there, guns blazing.
I mean,
90
Universal
days,
had
take
them
it or leave it.
Universal had them over a barrel. I mean, the studios have the product and the theaters don't, and that's the issue. And the studios now, you know, used to be like, well, we can only get our product through these theaters, but now technology has changed that. So that's the real issue. Theaters just don't have the leverage to negotiate like they used to.
No, definitely not.
So you gotta, unfortunately, take what I think is a worse deal. But like we said, we're trying to stay positive, and it was good that there was that break point to add on more weeks. But I think the big question is, what does this mean for little guys? Because you know that a film like Fast and Furious is, you know, if you get it on the break, that great, you've got your 21-day or 30-day window. But if you don't get it on the break, and it doesn't make $50 million when it opens, is there even any life after it off the break? Is there, you know, life at 2 or 3 weeks later, or on week 4 or 5, and when some of these theaters were getting this product? And if you're competing with streaming on weeks 4 and 5, that's where I think you're really going to see the pain in the industry is there's just no value left in it at that point. There's no meat on the bone. And can that be addressed? You know, because at the same time they're making these stipulations on these windowing, they're not adding prints. They're not changing the print counts. And so we're still seeing the same theaters getting product right away, and then everybody else, you know, trying to, you know, get what they can, these scraps off these bones in weeks 4 and 5. And that's just, I'd like to see that be addressed and changed too. You know, if you're going to go 21 days VOD, then increase the print counts. Let more people get a shot at exclusive theatrical.
You might also see that 50 million opening number if you do it.
Yeah, then you might start seeing those if you get them out there more.
But again, that's all, unfortunately, it's all speculation. But seeing how things are progressing within our industry, that seems like most likely how that's going to happen.
Right. So you just prepare if you're an owner and a manager that gets film in that weeks 3, 4, and 5. You know, you got to really decide, is a minimum guarantee worth playing this film if it's also available on streaming, and what's my ticket price going to be? See, there's a lot of questions with this that weren't answered in that article. Are they going to entertain variable ticket pricing? So when I get my 21-day theatrical exclusive, maybe Universal gets a $10 ticket, but once I go day and date streaming, do I get to now bump it down to a $5 ticket to compete with streaming? Is that going to be able to happen? I mean, that's a big question in there.
It's been a huge sticking point, especially
Yeah.
for Warner Brothers. Like, they have been one of the most vocal with us about standardized ticket pricing. And
Well, it's always been part of everybody's master license agreement. It's to ward off fraud. It's so that you don't play a classics film in your theater for $1 and then sell people the $1 ticket on your box office reports and report that, and then they're going to the first run film. But I don't
sneaking into the first run film.
Yeah.
Oh, hundreds of people sneaking in all over the place.
Well, it's also like a fraud thing too,
No,
you know.
understood. But you would
On
rather
the
sell
reporting side of it, regardless, I mean, you could be selling $10 tickets to your patrons, but you're only reporting the $1 classics tickets. That's the fraud component that I think studios are worried about. And that's why it's always been against your master licensing agreement to have variable pricing. But I would think that now with technology the way it is, and the mandatory reporting, the showtime reporting, and the things that they actually get, and the checkers that they can send, that it makes it a little harder to skim off the top.
Yeah, if you're
And-
listening to this, you're a good person. We're not skimming.
Right.
Just straight up.
You are
Right.
all
I've
good people.
heard this happens in the industry. I've never actually seen it happen
Yeah.
anywhere.
From evil film buyers.
Yeah. Well, those guys that got started in the 80s and 70s and 80s that went fast and loose with the rules.
In the good old days,
Yeah.
you could just do whatever you want with your theater.
could.
You could smoke in there.
Yeah.
You could
Smoking
drink.
cigarettes with a green desk lamp.
Yeah.
Give me a gun and your badge.
Oh my God. No joke. My dad had a green desk lamp forever on his
I
desk.
guarantee he did.
Ken's like, really?
Shocked.
Oh, when did he get started? In the 70s, you said?
It's like you're getting this from your experiences in life.
I don't know. He's just been watching a lot of NYPD Blue lately. We've been on quarantine.
It's all we have left. We've seen everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Revisiting the classics.
Oh, jeez.
You're damn right.
So what else is there for the news then? Or do we have anything more to add on for this other topic?
No, we'll have to see how this plays out. I mean, this is one step in this process. We are basically creating new industry standards with these windowing and stuff, but it just adds a lot more questions about pricing, about print availability, about showtime and schedule of flexibility. I mean,
No, we were playing a game of checkers. It was always the same. You
Yeah.
can move left or right, and that's it. And now the game turned into chess, and we're hoping it turns back into checkers. Everything goes
a
back
little
to
bit,
normal.
yeah.
But the things we're doing with scheduling and bringing in independent films and bring in day and date VOD movies is nothing we ever even considered.
Well, I think we talked about that this was in the future, but I thought we were 2 or 3 years down the road from this. This is not what I thought we would be dealing with in 2020 at all. I really thought we had a couple of years
Actually
before.
not. I thought we'd be arguing for mid-level theaters to get the newest blockbuster, not
Yeah.
booking, wholesale for Gravitas and Vertical and Saban. But they've all been great.
They've
to
all
work
been
with.
awesome. Yeah. No, it's actually giving these little guys, these smaller distributors, a opportunity to get into way more locations than they ever would have gone into. So that's actually been a nice surprise, and we've actually had some pretty good films come out of it.
Probably 10 times the locations than they would have expected.
Oh my
normally
gosh,
for
yeah.
these. It's an incredible.
Overwhelming amount
Yeah.
for
When you're-
them.
When you're seeing on the weekend numbers, something opened in 1,000 theaters from Vertical Entertainment. It's crazy.
Yeah. Talking about theater chains like Cinemark and stuff, everybody got really excited over the vaccine news that we are
That Dolly Parton's going to save us all.
Yeah. She invested. That we are one step closer to a vaccine. That some of the trials have gone great, and the efficacy of it is like at 95% or something. So we're on the horizon for that, and with that, hopefully will come more socialization, and on that news, the Wall Street increased the stocks on several theater companies. Stocks increased on that news. I think AMC and
AMC's was supposedly like an 80% increase. Cinemark's,
because they were in the toilet though, so that's not a lot.
yeah, true. And Cinemark's, I believe, was about 40%
I mean, that's
increase.
That's a crazy increase, even
Right.
for Cinemark, who's a pretty well-run company.
Yeah.
Without a huge debt load, not AMC, who's massively in debt. That's why they went up 80%. They're like, oh, they might actually be able to service their debt.
We can save ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinemark's been doing it right so far.
When AMC did the merger, I mean, they're trading now at 10% of what they were when they did the big merger. So it's going up that minimal amount. It's good news, meaning that there will be theater going, but don't take just like anything with Wall Street, don't take the stock price as something is up, that they know something, that they're substantially benefiting from this.
No, they are definitely analysts outside of our industry making, perceptive decisions on the stocks. So
yeah, it's definitely a great thing. It gives us the opportunity and something to look forward to.
at least it's positive. At least it's positive.
And Dolly Parton's involved. I love it.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
And then the last thing talk about with streaming and stuff was David Fincher signed a 4-year Netflix deal to make more product for them. He was better known for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, that Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Fight Club,
Gone Girl.
Gone Girl.
Gone
Did someone
Girl.
say Gone Girl already?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, they're not, blockbuster franchises, but they're relatively known names. Like if a normal person has heard of these movies, they'd be like, "Oh, I remember hearing about
I've
that."
heard of
once.
Fight Club. I've seen parts of it.
Honestly,
I
Fight
think
Club.
I've seen the Fight Club.
Fight Club might be his most watched movie, right?
I just remember his name is always in my brain associated with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo because it bombed so horribly because you don't want a movie like that at Christmas. And that taught me a big lesson about booking.
Yes.
Do not take rated R scary rape movies at Christmas.
No, it'll be a Christmas film for the whole family.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there was an article on top of him recently announcing that he signed a 4-year deal with Netflix after making his movie Mank. Might have been in a few theaters, I don't know, but he was pretty much explaining like he was moving over to Netflix because he's tired of traditional Hollywood studios breathing down his neck about box office numbers and complain about how there's only 2 theatrical seasons for movies, Spandex Summer and Affliction. Winter, excuse me.
Yeah, he kind of got a little wordy, a little like eloquent, maybe. I don't know what the right word is I'm trying to say, but he said, unless you're making a tentpole movie with a Happy Meal component, no one's interested.
Right.
And I don't think he's off on that assessment, but I just think no one was interested in his movies.
Burn.
Yeah, they're not that great.
No, we wanted to make a movie about Citizen Kane. Like,
and the average moviegoer is like, what's Citizen Kane?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's room out there for people to make art.
Right.
It's just not the way it used to be, where you can greenlight something on just a name.
Yeah. No, and Kyle and I talked about this, and I'm like, and I think what this really speaks to is more of a existential question about movies. Are movies made for the audience, or are they made for the creator? And I think in David Fincher's point of view, they're his creations, and he wants to make what he wants to make regardless of how successful it is. But is that really furthering this industry, and is that really helping any, is that, I don't know. It kind of goes with the Academy Awards. Do we honor art for art's sake, or do we honor what actually people went and saw and enjoyed?
Yeah.
And if no one's enjoying his movies, if they're not being seen, then I guess I'm kind of like, what's the point of making them? But
Yeah, he can go over to Netflix and make his movies,
thing.
and you can enjoy them there, and then you can go to the theater and take your Happy Meal and enjoy enjoy the stuff that they're making for the masses, for people that want to see them, want to enjoy them. I understand that there's commercialism with what we do. Like every film, every TV show is selling you a product beyond what is on the screen, beyond your watching in your eyeballs. They're trying to get you to purchase something. But that's part of how the world works.
Or live an experience, or, find some escapism. I still think that those things that people loved about movies are still why people create movies, so that you can escape into this different story. I just don't think anybody likes David Fincher's stories anymore. And so fine, he can go to Netflix, but
Well, I think sorry, Cody, you finish your thought.
I was going to say, how many people are clicking on Mank on their algorithm?
Well, that was going to bring me to what I was thinking. Like, I understand why Fincher, as a creative, wants to go to a studio that lets him do what he wants instead of having someone breathe down your neck. It's just that how many more people are going to see your movie, even on a streaming service?
Yeah. Is that the point? Does he care if people see it or not?
Which I feel like it should to a degree. Like, I'm all for art for art's sake. That's why I always argue with you when it comes to the academies. I'd rather them vote based on, is the art good versus the commercial aspect of it? Although I do wish it was involved to a degree.
I wish they went hand in hand.
Somehow, I agree.
Yeah.
But at the... I don't know. At the same time, though, like, you also have to think, like, are you doing it for yourself? And if you do, that's fine, but would you also like it to be not just for yourself? You know,
Right.
I mean, you will get an audience, but is it really going to be that big of an audience?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that philosophical question. And
I like the idea of big audiences.
yeah, because
Butts and seats.
Butts and seats, man. I like that.
it helps the theater industry, but also for most people, I feel like for most people, like that's the fun part of it.
Well,
a
for
shared
movie
experience.
going in general, yeah. Like you said, it's a shared communal experience, and you don't get that by sitting in your living room watching sappy black and white movies. Isn't Macon black and white?
It's black and white.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's sappy, but
Well, whatever it is, I'm not watching.
intense. I don't know.
It. Looks dumb.
You meant no? I guess it is going to theaters, so we'll give it a break. I won't go after them too hard.
More
Barely.
more theaters than in most years, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's definitely going to be available to locations that are interested in playing it.
Okay.
The window's going to be short. I think it's 7
Very
days
short.
for most locations.
Yeah, which is
We're
fine.
doing it in a
It's
few other
more
places
of a
for
window than Wonder
14
Woman.
days. Yeah, substantially more. But you know, it's just this changing of the guard from going from one thing you're very used
Right.
to, where you put a film on 35 millimeter and ran it through a projector,
Yeah.
and now it's a completely different industry than it was even 15 years ago, which
And
is
it,
crazy to
and
think.
it just brings up, like, why are we making these movies? What are we trying to get out of it? Are we trying to have this communal experience? And if we are, do theaters play a role in that? And I guess I was more frustrated with him and his comments about our industry, because I felt like he was thumbing his nose at us.
Well, tell them off.
I did. I said his movie was dumb and that he deserves to go over there, because I don't want to play his movies in my theaters, because they won't make any money, because no one wants to see them,
So
because they're bad.
You don't know that. There could be that one art student in film school who went
Well,
out to see it.
He won't buy popcorn, so I don't care about him. Because he's poor.
he'll sneak in his vape pen.
I was about to say everyone loves popcorn, but I
Yeah.
am the minority, so I shouldn't talk. Never mind.
So-
Totally kidding.
Well, I think we covered all the big ones this week
And last week.
and last week's big news. And yeah, hopefully next week we won't have a podcast next week, because it'll be Thanksgiving. So we'll catch you in 2 weeks again from now.
Sorry about that, but check out our other episodes. We got a whole bunch, and they're all fun, and they're great.
Yeah.
And we're awesome.
And I'm so glad to be back out of the house for a little bit, even though I just came 5 blocks to the office.
Don't you just love the experience that
I
we
was like,
supply
"Ooh, it's
at
a
the
new
office?
room. It's a new person.
I know.
Kyle.
I've been hiding out in the laundry room just because the room I don't go in every day. Like, it's nice in here.
Nice and cozy. So yeah, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode. Again, check out many of our other episodes on silverscreeninsider.com and on other podcast platforms. And if you are a theater owner or manager who's going through what we've been talking about on this episode, needs help getting those marketing materials, not just for all these upcoming movies, but also for things like CinemaSafe and Save Your Cinema, you can check us out at silverscreeninsider.com. Just get a subscription there, and you'll have all the materials and information you'll need.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Take it easy.
Peace.